All right. It's Monday. I got a guy coming to help unload straw. So we're gonna get that done here first thing this morning. And then we're gonna go get, hopefully, as long as it's dry enough, go get the wheat unloaded. And then somewhere in there, I gotta go run some errands before it gets too late in the day. And then we're hopefully gonna get the 525 back over here and in the barn so that it's not sitting outside. So I want to get everything kind of squared away because we got a chance of rain Wednesday, and then we're good Thursday, Friday, Saturday, possibly Sunday. So I think I want to drop second cutting Thursday, as long as the weather does what they're saying it's gonna do. But that could change in 20 minutes, so okay, this is here. Get this trailer unloaded first. Not that it matters, but that was the last thing to come out of the barn. And I had to move all that stuff out first so that I can get to the 66. So I got that to run the elevator. So yeah. Hopefully I can find time this winter to get that thing split and go through the PTO and the main clutch and get a rear main seal in it and all that crap. Because I'd really like to have a PTO working on that. I've been saying it for 2 years, but just haven't had time. But I need to find time because that tractor would be so handy if it actually had a working PTO. All right, let me unhook the sprayer here real quick. All right, we're all set up, so just waiting on the help. I'm gonna have to put the dogs in for this because that elevator's screeching and I think the noise was making them go nuts. All right, here we go. Good old screechy. pretty decent pile back in here. Probably could have had room for, I don't know if we'd fit one more full wagon in here. It would have been close. Would have taken 3 people because you'd have needed 2 in the loft. That was all I could do to keep up on that last stack. Everybody, this is Kyle. Kyle's a local big buck hunter.
That's what they call me.
Word on the street is when he's sitting in his stand by himself, he narrates himself like a TV show.
Not sure how that got out, but...
All right, that's done. All right. Kyle headed home, gave him 20 bucks. Took us 59 minutes on the dot. I didn't figure that was too bad. But once you get stacked that high, it's every bit one person can do to keep up. I almost told him to slow down a little bit for that last stack on the back of the wagon because I was worried they were gonna fall off and start hitting the elevator and breaking while I was up in the corner stacking, but we got it. So now we can clean up the mess. I can probably let the dogs back out now that we're done. I'm sure they're antsy. And what time is it now? 9:45. See how long it takes me to get this cleaned up. I might go do my running before we haul that weed in, just so I can get that job out of the way now that I'm nice and sweaty and stinky. Okay, I'm almost done cleaning up, but I noticed something because I always notice things, which one was expected. I don't know how well the color change is going to show up on camera, but right here where there's a missing bale is, oh, it shows up on camera pretty good. Where that missing bale is the split between last year's straw and this year's straw, and that was baled on, or that was made, I think we ended up cutting the weekend after the 4th. Anyway, that was made like more on time for wheat and didn't get all the rain on it. And this is from this year, and there's a very, very different, like that's more yellow and this is more bleh. Very different color change between the two. But the other thing I noticed, and I don't know if it's a difference in how much rain it got on it, or if it's a difference in how well the 7300 handles wheat versus how well the 525 handles wheat, but there was a lot less like small stuff falling out of the bales and making a mess on the ground on the stuff from this year versus that stuff. There was a lot less fines in it, I guess, was the, because basically there was a small pile right here where we were loading the bales, and that's a pile that I had here from selling straw, the stuff I sweep out of the barn and wait till I got a big enough pile to bother moving. But there was very little like tracked in the loft and on the ground other than right where we had the wagon parked. So like I say, it's just something I noticed. I don't know if it's a difference in combines or if it's the amount of rain that got on them that caused that, but something I found interesting. And we'll get a little bit of energy yellow in the day today. Look out, Lily. Sweetheart. I still can't believe it runs as good as it does for sitting as long as it did, and for the complete lack of work I put into it to get it running. I mean, it took longer to put it back together from the sad state it was in than it actually did to get it running. The garden has once again been taken over by, well, this time two things. She put watermelon out this year, so there's a bunch of watermelon in it that is taken over, and the pumpkins have gone nuts again. this week we'll sneak in a quick couple-minute garden update just so everybody can see what's going on there, because it's gotten out of hand again. All right, I got all my running done. I went up and applied to that city job we talked about. That was pretty informal. I was expecting to have to go in and fill out a job application and yada yada yada, and they handed me the job application and it was everything that I had on my resume. So I was like, can I just give me my resume? It covers everything. They're like, sure. So I didn't even have to fill out the application. I just handed them my resume. We gotta get outside so Teeter can get in here. I can't get the door open far enough. Right? Come on, you cold-blooded bastard. I did figure out, I can show you here real quick. If anybody that was around last fall remembers, I kept having issues with this thing running like crap. And messed with the plugs, messed with the plug wires, rebuilt the carburetor. It was the weirdest thing. And it got to the point where it was basically undrivable because you shift the 2-speed with the throttle. And it was to the point where the throttle response was so bad, especially downshifting, you couldn't wrap the throttle hard enough to get it to catch and shift the transmission or shift the axle down, and then you'd lose a gear and you'd have to stop and get it to, it was a pain. Well, the problem ended up being, because this is a 350 with a Rochester 2-jet with a, interesting. I'm glad I opened the hood. Anyway, Rochester 2-jet with a vacuum governor. That's what this is right here. Well, the vacuum governor, this is the vacuum hose that goes to this little doohickey here on the firewall, which is plugged into the distributor. So it's all part of the governor system. Well, you can't see it unless you know it's there and you're looking for it, but there's this little filter on the back of, it's just a little, almost looks like a small inline fuel filter without a barb on one side. And it's just got a piece of felt in it, and that's the filter to keep from sucking dirt into the vacuum line, because otherwise this is just a straight through hole in here. And that filter was plugged. So it doesn't take a whole lot of plug to affect the vacuum, and it was affecting the governor and the throttle response and the whole 9 yards. It's an AC Delco filter, discontinued part number, but there's a part number cast right in the little filter cartridge. So I was able to get on eBay and found a bunch of new old stock ones, so I bought one, threw that on there. This thing runs like a raped ape now. And the whole reason I figured it out was I was out messing with it earlier this summer, and it's like, okay, what the heck? So something made me unhook that vacuum line off the governor. That thing ran like crazy. It just wouldn't govern out. And so I was like, okay, we got a vacuum problem. And then I talked to a guy down the road here that's been a GM mechanic since like the 70s. And he's done a little bit of work on these heavy truck or medium duty trucks like this. And he's like, yeah, there's a little air filter on that thingamajigger on the firewall. So once I knew all that, it didn't take long to figure it out. It was just a matter of finding the filter. And now it runs spectacular. Other than she's still cold-blooded, but she's always been cold-blooded. Damn it. Okay, I cannot hold the camera and shift at the same time. That's not working. That's better. I guess I'm gonna have to call. My tester was way off because my tester was saying that this was anywhere, depending on which time I tested it, anywhere between 14.8 and 20. Every time it was different. And there's a way to go in and program an offset in it to calibrate it to, like, say what the elevator's certified tester's saying here. But if it's all over the damn place like that, that doesn't do any good. So I've dealt with Agtronics on one of those testers before, and they've been really good. So, or Agratronics or whatever it is. So I guess I'm gonna have to call and see what the deal is, because it's always almost spot on the money on soybeans and corn. It's only wheat I've ever had an issue with it. But being off by that much, that means I probably could have cut wheat last weekend like I originally wanted to. It wouldn't have had to fight as many weeds across the road, but it's what it is. I think this is the side they want me on. It's hot, isn't it? Yeah, it's hot, isn't it? And we're on our way with load number 2. I think it's time to replace the shift switch in this thing. That button's getting to the point, especially downshifting it, you've almost got to take your hand off the shifter and smack it down with your palm. I believe I tried shooting some if I remember right, I think I tried shooting some WD-40 in it last harvest because it was getting bad. But clearly that didn't work. And it's kind of hard to make a smooth shift when you got to move your hand around that much. Alright, well, the numbers are in. It wasn't great. I mean, it's far from terrible, but it's far from great. This one is off of the clean field. That one ran 47 bushel an acre. Connor told me the wrong moisture when I went through the first time. He was reading the one off the skate or off the computer, which was a corn sample he had just tested. But their numbers were still lower than what my tester was saying. So that first load was 54.3 test weight, which that's atrocious, and 14.3 moisture. The other side of the road actually had a better test weight, 55.8. So 0.5 higher, or 1.5 pounds higher test weight, which surprised me. But that field only went 44 bushel an acre. 14.7 moisture on that, which the moisture being high and the test high-ish, below 15 is good enough for me. It gets it off the trucks. The moisture and the test weight are what killed things the worst. This field, the one well with weeds in it, also the neighbors got a herd of ducks, and a good chunk of the winter the ducks were actually out there eating on that wheat too, so that didn't help. Not something not a kind of pest problem you'd expect to have, but domestic ducks are apparently a problem in wheat because they just loved eating the crap out of it. But low damage, no smell or anything, which was nice. I was worried on this load about that ragweed smell, but it must not have showed up that bad in the sample, so apparently letting it sit in the truck for a while helped. The test weight, though, that's not just a me problem. I was talking to the grain merchandiser down there Friday or Saturday, whichever day it was that I took a sample down there to test it, and I was talking to him, and he said the test weight started off fairly strong, like 59.60, was kind of average. Normally you'd like to see like 61, 62, 63. 60 pound per bushel is the standard for wheat, but if you can get higher than that, more better. But he said about a week and a half ago, after we started getting all this rain, he said the test weight started dropping like a rock, and 54, 55, he said, is pretty average for what guys have been hauling in as of late. And I know a couple guys, there's up north of here at a town called Dowagiac, there's a flour mill, Melling Mills. When you get into food grade, like hauling right into a flour mill type situation, they are very, very high sticklers for grain quality. And I know a lot of guys, I shouldn't say a lot, there's not a lot of guys around here that grow wheat. There's some guys around here that grow wheat. A couple of guys I know that have been hauling up there have been getting about 50% of their loads rejected because of test weight. So that is a problem this year due to all the rain we had. When wheat's coming up, rain's great. Once wheat hits maturity, rain is your worst nightmare because all it does is destroy grain quality. So is what it is. All we can do is hope for better next year. Hopefully next year I have it on some better ground that's not surrounded by trees too, because that obviously didn't help, because basically the first two passes all the way around both fields. So basically you figure 26 feet, I'd say, was probably yielding about half of what the insides were. So, and 26 feet around a 4-acre field is pretty significant. So there's also that you got going for you. So, but there was something. It let us get out and the 525 stretcher legs, and we got some straw out of it to replenish the stock. And growing wheat's good for the ground. So all in all, is what it is for this year. So that's where that turned out. So now we can let's hop on getting the 525 back home and back in the barn. All right, I got all my stuff drug out. Need to get all this stuff rearranged so that I can get tractors over to my house so that we can make room to get that little guy inside, get the hood off, start hooking at the engine. His dad messed with the tracks a little bit more this weekend while I was cutting wheat, so slowly but surely making progress. Come on. It's too warm out for you to need choke. Alright, work off the corner or the edge of the driveway here. It gives you 3-4 more inches of ground clearance. So yeah, I'll pull her around. these can come off. And we'll just, there. This mount's built better, but it's got too many spots where it can loosen up. Well, Teeter's been chasing a mouse around the tires while I've been getting everything set back in the saddles. Did you find it? It's still under that tire. I haven't seen it move. So, first thing we gotta do is drop these guys, and the cylinders can come off. Oh, come on, damn you. There ain't no pressure on it, I can wiggle it. Okay, well, I guess we'll grab a hammer. And while we're over here, undo the reel height, because we don't want to yank that off, and then pins are always a bugger getting out. Going in, usually not too bad. Getting out, they usually want to fight you for some damn reason. See if I can drive into this a little bit. It's probably not going to let me. Alright. And the last thing is to fish the drive belts off. Like that. And now, with a little yank, we should be able to back away from it. You gotta go to the other tire. Other tire, Teeter.
It went to this, it went up here. Probably climbed the tire and ended up in the head by now if it didn't run across the yard. Keep looking, you'll find it. Okay, and then we could throw this back over here. And all the good green stuff. Before it goes in the barn, I have to stick a leaf blower in there and blow all that out and run it again real quick just to kick everything out the back. But all I got to do now is tie the cylinders up, and we can put that back over where it goes, and then this can go back over to my house to go back in the barn. Okay, she's over at my house. I took a leaf blower and blew the rest of her guts out, so she should be fairly clean on the inside. That's the only other thing I normally would do, and I don't think it would be an issue with, I could probably look with a flashlight and see how dirty it is from the back, but normally I'd pull the rock trap out and scrape the grain pan clean. But like I said, I doubt it's as packed full of crap as it would be with soybean, or from soybeans, because soybean dust packs like concrete, and it'll pack in the grain pan, and then it holds moisture and it rots your grain pan out. So, but I don't think it was actually blowing chunks of soybean dust out while I was harvesting wheat, so I think the wheat actually cleaned it up a little bit. But we got to pull the grain cart, the wagon, the sprayer, all this back out so we can stuff her back in her corner, and then we'll just kind of loosely put everything back in here for now, because tomorrow I think what I can do is take the applicator, because I'm going to do the only thing that part of that I'm going to put in here is a toolbar, because that's the only thing that really matters. I think once I get the 525 back in there, I can put the toolbar against the back of the 525 and then back the planter back over where it would normally be. And I think that'll work out pretty good. That'll keep everything out of the way for fall. So just gotta move some stuff around. I've actually got like an acre of beans I gotta go touch up yet too, which works out because that's about how much I've got left in the sprayer. You bitch. Of course you wouldn't come out the same way you went in, would you? There we go. And we'll go grab old Junkyard Special and get the rest out of there. night. Everything is kind of stuffed back in here willy-nilly, whatever gets the door shut. And like I say, tomorrow I want to do the summer shuffle and get everything arranged for fall, because that's going to be our next big ordeal as far as equipment moving in and out of here. Scary to think, probably only going to be about 3 or 4 more weeks and we're going to be looking at getting combines out and figuring out what we need for parts and all that. Yeah, probably. Well, our fair is going to be, I think we're 2 weeks out, 2.5 weeks out from our fair, I think. And basically normally once we get through fair is when I pull combines out and start working on them, so that's about where we're at. But they don't really, the 7300 doesn't really need a whole lot other than a general service, and I want to get some new flighting on that unload auger, because I'm pretty sure it's hurting. The 70 or 8700, it's got some belts and stuff need changed out, and just a general going over on that too. So I mean, it probably got a couple days of work on both of them, maybe, or between a couple days of work a piece, and they're pretty much ready to roll. I got to change the gearbox oil for the 2-speed gearbox and the cylinder drive on the 87. It's due for a change. Heads need going over. It's really just kind of general service and upkeep this time around. No real major projects, so that's good. But anyhow, yeah, I found a guy with a yeah, he's got a bunch of pro boxes or seed boxes or seed packs or whatever, depending on which brand of or which flavor of seed you buy. What depends on what they call them, but a hard plastic box to put the rest of my wheat seed in so that it quits getting demolished by critters. Probably need to do a germ test on that too, although judging by the stuff that's sprouting on the ground, it must be halfway decent. And speaking of wheat, I've been reading comments on the last video about population, and I've been seeing numbers anywhere between 120 and 180, so I think I'm going to split the difference and we'll just go for 150 across the board and see if that improves anything, because I've been doing 120 pounds since I started planting wheat, and I've had yields. I think this is probably the worst wheat yield I've had this year. So basically between 45 bushel an acre, and I think last year I was pushing 90 was my best, or last year was my best year, and anything in between. So I mean, obviously 120 pounds works if I can get close to 90 bushel on it like I did last year. But I think if I push the population a little higher, hopefully that gets me more consistency. So, but I did see that, so that's kind of the plan. And I guess since I got old, actually technically I don't even, I have to go back and look at the video and see if I mentioned what my drill setting was last year for wheat, because if I can find my drill setting last year from wheat, don't even have to recalibrate the drill because it's the same seeds. So, and I got to sit down this year and sit down and look at my fields that I've got and the fields I'm getting. I picked up while I was driving up today to put that job application in. I got a phone call from another person with another 20 acres. So now with everything that people have talked to me about so far with what I'm getting, I picked up damn near 80 acres. Oh yeah, if you count the ground that I've picked up more hay ground, so if you count all that, yeah, I've picked up basically 80 acres so far for next year, which I really gotta get a loft situation figured out with the hay ground I've picked up. So, because with that ground, well, 4 of it I'm not positive on yet. You're actually going to see the field this coming weekend, because the deal this year is the lady wants me to do a custom cutting off of it, and we'll get more into that story when I go to cut that hay. But basically, if I end, this is going to be the last year for the custom cutting because she's selling her animals. So if I end up with that piece, the hay on it is shit. That's why I didn't take a first cutting off of it. Or I take a cutting off of it when I took first cutting off of my stuff, was because there was nothing there worth cutting. And this year, or this time, at this moment, there's barely anything worth cutting, but I want to get her something, so. But the hay on it's shit, so my plan is, it's lady's brother's farm, and it sounds like he might rent it to me after this year. So my plan for that field would be get this cutting off of it. I doubt it makes another one. I mean, you'll see it. This field is trash. Get this cutting off of it, moldboard it, get it fit, and put weed on it this fall. That way I can take the weed off next summer, moldboard it again, and plant it back to hay. It needs, it's bad. You guys will see it. I don't know who planted it. She didn't tell me. I didn't ask. It's just, it's terrible. It's only a 2-year-old field, and it's bad. But so that field, if I pick it up, won't be hay next year. It'll be hay the following year. And then there's another piece that is next to a field I already farm that's already established into hay. That's a nice field. It's got a fair bit of alfalfa in it. And that field is gonna be a like half custom. It's not 50-50, but basically I would get all of first cutting. The folks want whatever they need to feed their animals off of second cutting, and then I could have whatever third cutting would replenish whatever they need to get them through, and then I could have the remainder of third cutting, and there would be no rent on it. Basically, the hay that they get would be the rent, so that won't be too bad of a deal. It saves me from having to try to establish another hay field. So yeah, we're picking up ground as long as I don't lose any. There might be, picking this stuff up, there might be a couple of chunks that I let go next year just because it's probably time to let them go. That one field that had all the foxtail in it that the deer keep destroying might be one of them. I have a hard time letting ground go because it's so hard to get, so that's kind of a hard decision to make. I gotta think on it more, but or I would say I put that field into hay, but I don't have the equipment to be making gobs of hay. I don't have the storage to be making gobs of hay. I'd have to rent storage. And then that kind of starts going backwards on the profit margin. So there's things I got to think about and figure out how I want to handle some of this, but we're picking up ground. Things are looking better. If I could find one more 20, that would be nice, because that means I'd pick up 100 acres in a year, and that'd be mint. But, and there's a possibility that I might, because there's a few other pieces that I might be getting, possibly. But even if I just get that 80 acres between 1, 2, 3, 4 fields. Okay, 4 fields that would row crop and then 2 hay fields. I'd call that a pretty successful growth year. So, but anyhow, that's enough of me talking. I think we've covered everything we need to cover today. I got to give Dad a call so I can get a ride back to my truck. And we will see how things progress from here. I got some stuff I want to do tomorrow, and then since I kind of am in a period of a bunch of time on my hands with not having to go to work anymore, I'd really like to tear into that project right there and start making strides towards getting that chicken coop put together. That way we could get that going in the right direction. Because it'd be nice to have. It would be nice to get to the point where we don't have to buy any store-bought meat. That would be nice. And between that and the garden, have to buy as little store-bought as, I mean, obviously there's some stuff. I mean, shoot, if I grew with the wheat I'm growing, or I'm trying to remember what flour wheat is. Is flour wheat made out of hard wheat? I'm trying to remember what bread wheat is and what pasta wheat is, because they're two different. But anyway, to grind our own flour and make our own bread, and because the further we get and into the shit show that is the 21st century, the less I trust America's food security, and I just want to get to the point where we don't necessarily have to rely on it anymore, especially with all the foreign investment that we have in our food production, especially on the leading heavy on the processing, packaging and processing side. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. So anyhow, I guess that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Sorry for talking so much.